happy to see you here. We know that the country is facing difficult times right now, but we believe in being together, we believe in education, and we strive to do better every day at what we do. So today, this is why we are here, and starting from today, we will be crafting the first startup Huddle Yerevan community in our small city, and we will be having monthly events afterwards. So this is our very first event, but we will be meeting every month for these types of events. Before I start my speech and tell you a little bit about Startup Huddle, let me give the voice to my colleague, EPIC's Assistant Director,
Thank you.
who initiated Startup Huddle in Armenia.
Thank you very much. Dear ecosystem partners and community members, we are starting our third-gen initiative, Startup Huddle Yerevan, in a situation where our national entrepreneurship ecosystem needs community building activities more than ever. As a nation, we are facing a significant nationwide struggle, and thus our role as entrepreneurs and change makers become critical and more critical in present reality. As Jeff Hoffman, President of Global Entrepreneurship Network, describes, entrepreneurship is the shovel one uses to dig a path to a brighter future. And such a shovel for Armenia is currently in our hands. Like the previous two Global Entrepreneurship Network initiatives, Entrepreneurship World Cup and Global Entrepreneurship Week, Startup Huddle is a community building activity. The main difference between Startup Huddle and EWC or Global Entrepreneurship Week is the regularity of its events and the more focused approach for the subject and audience point of view. We are happy that at EPIC we have been successful in expanding our affiliation with Global Entrepreneurship Network in recent years. This is our third initiative. In addition to Startup Huddle Yerevan, we are working on an extensive program for Global Entrepreneurship Week 2023 in Armenia. In this November, based on the initial plan, Global Entrepreneurship Week Armenia 2023 will mobilize about 20 co-organizers with 20 different nationwide activities, actually in 3 main cities of Armenia from November 13 to November 19. Regarding EWC, the competition, since this year's competition has been repositioned to the following year, we will soon announce the opening of the application process for the EWC 2024, actually, because we are not going to have EWC 2023, not only in Armenia, but globally. But for now, let's start Startup Huddle Yerevan with the hope that soon we will be able to expand it also to other cities of Armenia. This is the Startup Huddle Yerevan chapter, so we are looking forward to see also the possibility to expand it to other cities of Armenia. Thank you.
Startup Huddle is not just any gathering. It's a platform for inspiration, innovation, and collaboration. It's a place where dreams take shape and entrepreneurs are able to receive support from the community to resolve their issues. This event is not just about the speakers, the presentations, or the pitches. It's all about you, the audience, the dreamers, the doers, the visionaries, and the change makers. This program, as Najda mentioned, is initiated by the Global Entrepreneurship Network, and there are chapters, Startup Huddle chapters in over 65 cities around the globe, and every year 1,500 entrepreneurs receive support from this community. Each chapter is organized by a local community builder and then supported by ecosystem partners. So EPIC is the local host, but we are thankful for our ecosystem partners. Science and Technology Angel Network, Equify, Granados Ventures, Hero House by Smart KPC, and Vana. Due to these collective efforts and due to spreading the word about Startup Huddle, we will be having this event at the final Friday of each month. We wanted to keep this as a breakfast event, and hopefully you will be able to register and join every event at the final Fridays of the month. Over the next hour, we will witness two presentations by Armin Saidi and the second one by Aram Jivanyan. Each of them will have a presentation of 6 minutes, and then we will give the audience 20 minutes to provide feedback, give suggestions, and ask questions to the speaker. The goal is to create a two-way conversation, and then after the event we'll also have a small networking session during which you can still approach the speakers and provide your recommendations one-to-one. As we embark on this journey together, let's embrace the spirit of collaboration, innovation, and community building. So hopefully this is our first event, and it will be continuous to have Startup Huddle Yerevan in our country. Let's welcome our very first speaker, Armin Saidi.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank all of you who have shown up today. I want to thank Michael, Nejde, and Anna, and the whole EPIC team for having organized this wonderful event. I am Armin Saidi. I'm an entrepreneur for as far as I can remember. As a child in school, backyards, etc., I used to wheel and deal, sell my toys, exchange them for others. So all this to say that all my life I've done some sort of entrepreneurship. Eventually, I got involved with a startup bug during the dot-com boom in the 90s, where I started working in one company that within a few years went from 6 employees to 150, eventually sold the company, and participated in one of the most dynamic, interesting environments that I had ever experienced, and I was hooked. So, very luckily, I got involved with 2 other companies that had a similar path. So within a matter of 7 years, I was in 3 companies that had 3 exits. So logically, after the 3rd exit, I said to myself, this is easy, let's do our own. So I embarked not knowing really what I was going to get into, but I said to myself, you know what, find a problem, find a team, smart people, build a product, do a bit of marketing, do a bit of sales, and then you'll exit and then retire. But obviously that's not the case. So today's topic, and talking about the tales of resilience, I want to talk about something or a topic that is very important, at least very interesting. It's a topic that most entrepreneurs don't think about. They may not talk about it, at least they may in private, but not in public. It's a topic that is extremely hard to go through, and you only face it when it happens and you start thinking about it. And this topic is about when do you know when it's time to quit, when it's time to let go and stop the project or the company with whom you've been spending all your time and energy on. When is it time really to just say, that's it, let's move on? This is such a hard and difficult thing to think about because you've invested so much time, you've invested so many things, sacrificed so many things in your life, and you know, people don't like to fail either. Now, before I go further, I just want to talk about entrepreneurship in general, as some of you most probably are or will become. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be strong, you have to be driven, you have to be motivated. And in my particular case, it's true, but there's something else that also pushed me a lot in my career. Early on, before I started becoming an entrepreneur, I had a mentor who said something and it stuck in my head. And it was 4 words, very powerful words that throughout my life and various endeavors that I've done, it's been the driving force. And those 4 words were, persistence wears down resistance. I'll say that again. Persistence wears down resistance. And what that meant for me is, whatever you do, if you work hard enough, smart enough, long enough, you'll overcome whatever objections, whatever challenges, and you will achieve your results. And in my particular case, it also meant don't give up, just go. And this applied to everything, whether it's in business, whether it's in life, personal relationships, hobbies, sports, whatever it is, always go. And this was the mentality that I had. And to the point, as an example, when we raised money for our previous company, I must have met 400 investors until someone said, yeah, we like this, we're on board. Had I given up earlier, what would have happened? Maybe better, maybe worse, who knows? So yeah, I wanted to put that in perspective for you to understand, at least in my situation and why I'm talking about this topic. We all know that to make it, you have to work hard. But it happens that certain times these 4 words, which were very important for me, did not benefit me. And this happened with our previous company in the past few years, where myself and my co-founders kept on questioning, okay, what do we do? Do we continue? Do we stop? We're not talking about pivoting here, we're talking about what do we do next? What's the smart thing to do? And what happens also is when you're so invested in something, you will do anything that you can to overcome these challenges. This could be good, this could be bad, but sometimes what happens is you lose sight and judgment of what's right and wrong. And the main thing that happens is you eventually start to realize there's a difference between being persistent or being stubborn. And that stubbornness makes you lose sight of things, where you will do anything to make sure things happen. Why? Because you don't want to fail. You've poured so much into this. You've sacrificed yourself. You have investors, sometimes even friends and family, that have invested in your ideas and your projects. You don't want to let them down. You have employees, team members, partners that have also sacrificed a lot. So you don't want to fail and let them down. And this is such a struggle, and I've been through it. Luckily, I've been very fortunate in my life. Most of the things that I've touched turned to gold, if I can say. But these past few years, that wasn't the case. And it created a lot of stress on myself, on my partner, on my relationships, on the future outlook of the company. Ended up doing things that maybe I should not have done. And this is something that I want all of you to start thinking, because maybe you're going through that today. Maybe you will go through it eventually, I hope not. But statistically, it shows that most companies end up failing, so chances are this may happen. But also, if this happens, realize that it's not as bad as it seems. For me, it was a big nightmare, a big disaster. How can I face the community? How can I face my parents? How can I face my wife? How can I face my partners, my investors? And you kind of live this alone in the corner somewhere until one day you say, okay, you have no more choices. In our particular case, I think if we were smart about it and we weren't as stubborn as we were, we would have ended the company maybe 3 or 4 years earlier, before we eventually did. Now, there's another small topic I want to touch upon before we start having the questions, is about also the cultural mindset, specifically in Armenia. Failure is not really something that people talk about. I was talking to someone and I told them I want to come here and talk about this problematic, and they said, no, don't do that here. It's a wrong thing to do. And I find that it's a shame. There's nothing wrong in failing. In fact, I look back at what I've done in the past 10 years and I don't see it as a failure. I've grown so much from it. Okay, what I had in mind didn't work out, but I have this whole life ahead of me that's going to allow me to do things. So culturally speaking, something that I was a bit shocked, and it didn't help. So for months at a time, I would not go out. I would just go to the office, come back home, stay in my corner, and try not to socialize as much, because I didn't want to face the reality of what people may think. And the reality is people don't care. They have their own problems at the end. So all this to say, be smart about what you're doing, be driven, but also think about what consequences it may have. And I would love, as a community here, for you to either ask questions, give me advice, or even let me know if you've experienced something similar. Thank you very much.
Oh, hi, thanks. It's actually it's the conversation I was just having about exactly that. Where's the border between stubbornness versus persistence because you put a goal and you don't want to give up on your goal? So what is the anchor in your life, in your story, right? What was the anchor that was pushing you to go the path, to take that path, that eventually you said, I am going to maybe, I'm not failing that anchor, but maybe I will need to readjust my anchor. Because if I elevate myself from my ego, then it has to be some anchor towards which I'm working.
I think for most of us, ego is the problem. But let's put ego aside. I like to, how do I say this? The experiences that I've had in the past, I've seen others go through certain challenges. And even the 3 startups that I worked at that I said, oh, fantastic, they had phenomenal exits, it was a mess inside. The ups and downs, I think most of them, 2 of the companies almost went maybe a week before they would potentially go bankrupt. But being exposed to these types of mindsets where you solve any problem is good on one side, but also is very challenging. So I think at the end you need to have someone next to you that removes that anchor, that says, hey, you know what, just look at this objectively, and this is what happens. And some other projects, we were running out of money, I put my own money inside because I knew there's a next deal that's going to come, that's going to cover it. I never saw that money again. I don't regret doing it, but so it's a very difficult question. I don't have a specific answer. I think individually we will go through this if you do it a very different and unique way. But at a certain point, you need to try to dissociate yourself from ego goes, bye-bye, but from your personality. And understand that you're not failing, it's just not your time, or it's not the right moment, or whatever it is. So you need to think about that. And I wish I had seen a talk like this too, because we don't talk about this. This is not, there's no books about this. It doesn't talk about it, right?
So I think one realization is timing. And I think there are 2 timings that you need to think about. One is your own personal timing. So whether you should continue on, persist, or not. What is going on in your family, in your surroundings, in your professional roadmap, your professional career. So keeping in mind, one, that timing and where you are and how you feel. The second one is about your product or service. And are you timing the market correctly? There are so many examples over the years of products or services being too early to the market or too late to the market. And so that realization also needs to happen. And sometimes, you know, and we've seen numerous examples of all kinds of products, cell phones, for instance, where the timing wasn't right, and then all of a sudden the iPhone made it on the market and it became popular, even though there were cell phones 10 years before that. And so I think these 2 issues need to be really evaluated very carefully and thought about.
Absolutely. On the personal side, it's 100% right, because you don't have a choice. If I would consider the situation that I've gone through in the past few years, and I was single and alone, easy peasy. On the second part about timing the market, that's easy to say, but it's harder to realize. If I look at the previous company that I started and we're slowly dwindling down, we started too early. We've been doing this for about 8-9 years. We were alone doing this. Now, some 7, 8 years later, there's a whole market that has opened up. But we're not as interesting for the industry as we used to be. You have giants that have more deeper pockets than us. We can potentially go raise money, but we're not as attractive as we used to be either. So there's a lot of things. So timing the market, you're absolutely right, but it's a harder one to manage.
Thank you. Based on different experiences and on my own experience as well, I think that not only hard work, or not only time and task arrangements are not enough, and even being a lucky person is not enough to succeed in a business. I wonder, what do you think? Are there some key strengths or most important strengths that should each entrepreneur have to success? Thank you.
There's a combination of things that come into play when it comes to success. So obviously on the personal side, some of the elements that I've talked about, being driven, being strong, and strong mentally, because, and this is the key thing, it's a very lonely place. Even if you have a business partner, it's a very lonely place. You live in your mind because you may have a few employees, you may have investors, you may have a lot of things around you, and everything is on your shoulder, depending on the role of the company. So mentally, you have to be strong. I have an out. My out is I go running. When I go running, I generally, within the first 10 minutes, I may be all messed up in my head thinking about all the problems, but 10 minutes after, suddenly everything is cleared. I become like a robot, I run, and then slowly but surely things become calmer. So I think it's not a question of necessarily having a skill set, but also ways to deal with the pressures that could come with it. In my case, it's exercise. It could be having a pet, walking, whatever it could be, right? But look at most successful entrepreneurs, okay? Success doesn't come immediately. It comes after maybe multiple companies. Let's look at Elon Musk, who's become the richest man in the world. When it came to Tesla and SpaceX, from what I remember, they were a day or two away from going bankrupt. So even these successful people may be in certain situations like that, but it took, some 30 years for him to reach where he's at. And with him turning Twitter into X is what he wanted to do 30 years ago. So that's a driven person, and he has a vision and he's going for it. So I think having a vision and being clear of what your vision is, but realizing that the path to that vision is never going to be a straight line, and accepting that and understanding that. So I think it's a lot of it's more psychological. It's all in your head. How do you deal with all these things? Any other questions?
Yeah, so how much did you rely on like advisors, mentors? Is that something you would suggest?
Yeah, of course, 100%. But so there's a variety of people you can talk to. So advisors, mentors, fantastic. But then often they give you a perspective not knowing how you are, what you think, and what you're supposed to be doing. So they'll give you advice, but I think throughout all the advice you have to filter things. And then if you're that stubborn as I am, you may be my advisor and you may tell me, Arnie, it's not the right thing to do. And I had some advisors tell me that. No, I'm going to make it happen. So I think it comes back to ego. And then the interesting other part is if you have investors, you have a variety of different mentality in the investors. I had some that were pushing me, no, you have to go. And the other ones that would say, it's okay if you fail. And it's a bit shocking to see the difference between all of them. But I think it's I mentioned this, it's a lonely place, and your point being, talk to people, absolutely. But often, I think we're kind of afraid to do so because we're admitting that we may not be doing the right thing or we're failing. So again, coming back to some form of ego in play. So, but yeah, talk to as many people as you can. Specifically people, I should have spoken to that same person that taught me those 4 words and say, but unfortunately that person passed away. But yeah, there's no real answer, and I think everyone deals with these things differently. I know that if I face something similar in the future, I know certain things that I'm willing to do and certain things that I'm not. So at least that's become clear. And I think also an important point, and this is something I didn't do, is you should set yourself a sort of timeline or a deadline. I will work at this for the next 2 years, and if by this time these set of objectives are not realized, then it's okay, let's move on.
Well, I have one more. And Samson, of course, asked a good question, and obviously you should talk to investors and mentors and advisors. The problem is that usually if you talk to 100 people, you get 300 different opinions. And you have to decide who to listen to. And so I think that's the biggest challenge. And with our own entrepreneurs, everyone tells them something different. And if you listen to each one, you're going to go like this and back and forth, and you'll never get to your goal. And so the bigger challenge is training yourself and polishing your judgment so that you can differentiate who you should listen to and who you shouldn't listen to.
It's a filtering process that you have to learn. We've experienced this. We were part of Techstars. Some of you probably know the accelerator incubator. And actually in similar cases with the mentors here. So in the first stage of Techstars, for 1 month, you're sitting with mentors and you're having, how many hours of discussions that we had? 6 to 8 hours? Adam has done the same thing. So for 1 month, almost 6 to 8 hours of listening to other people's opinion on your project. From it's a great idea to it's a disaster, you should give up, to do this, do that, put a banana on it, put a cherry on it, etc. And it comes back to that. You need to be able to filter and see what applies to you. And it's not easy. Again, none of these things are easy because you, in your mind, live that product or that company, you see it, you know how people want to use it, etc. But it's never the case, and you have to learn to listen to others and also really filter the good and the bad. Yeah.
So you mentioned that sorry, you mentioned that most of the time your initiations were successful. So what was different that time that you failed? Could you share or some prevention?
Most, not all, first of all. And I was surrounded also by a lot of successful people, so I kind of associated myself with that. In the particular case of failure, there's not one particular reason. There's many things. Timing of the market was mentioned, errors that we did internally, trying to do too much. I think as an entrepreneur, usually you want to add all the different features, all the different bells and whistles that are not needed. So there's so many. I could write a book about all the errors that we did in the past company. But if I look at what could have been different, because I have failed in the past, in this particular case, I took everything more personally than I had to. And in the timeline of that company, there are at least 4 or 5 moments that we should have stopped. But we didn't for some reason. And I wasn't alone. I have partners and we had discussions. But I think we should have just look at the facts. So it's not only a question of maybe running out of money. It could be other factors that make it that your company is not successful. But you need to look at the facts. What is it, not your intuition, what is shown here that makes it so that this is not going to go further? And maybe, coming back to the timing, maybe you can put this on the shelf, do something else, and eventually go back to it. There's all sorts of possibilities. But I think there's not one real reason why. There's a combination of things. And it was also potentially one of the biggest projects and companies that I've done myself. We had raised a lot of capital, different environment. We also came to Armenia, which was great on one side, but also brought a slew of issues, not understanding the full cultural mindset, how to deal with employees, and also so many different things. I don't want to blame, but going through war doesn't help. Motivation comes down. The pandemic didn't help either. So right before the pandemic, just to let you know, we had raised capital, additional capital. We had a complete pivot that was finally the right pivot. Everything was going in the right direction. In December, early December 2019, I was signing deals for a bunch of millions of dollars that were supposed to be gone, and then suddenly COVID came and everything just disintegrated. So many factors. But I don't want to, I think it's us, me and my co-founders, that kind of did not see the writing on the wall sooner than we should.
You already answered my question. Yes, please, thank you.
Okay, let's move to others.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, is the problem in that we attach ourselves, our ego gets attached to the object of the stuff that we are doing, and then that attachment, having it such close attachment, is the one that holds us back, not seeing, it's almost like when you have a relative with the cancer.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to see the reality.
Yeah. And I'll just quickly answer. So I've been in Silicon Valley, previous companies, we've raised money, we've been there, etc. And the mentality there is very different. They praise failure. When you go see an investor and they know that you failed a few times, they're happy because they say, okay, he's not going to fail with my money this time.
They hope.
They hope, absolutely. And I'm talking to investors now for something new, and they kind of are, again, sort of happy that this is happening. Not happy, but meaning there's potential. But I mentioned this, the cultural mind frame as well affects as well. So in Silicon Valley, you sit down, you fill in the problem, you start something new, but the opportunity is there, and it's not seen as a negative thing. Comparing it to someone dying with cancer, etc., yeah, it's very similar to a certain extent, but it's that dissociation emotionally that the entrepreneur, it's not your child, it's not your arm, legs, it's a business that could work, that could not work. That's it. That's how you should see it.
Yeah, that's how
So
we
I
should
hope
see.
this has helped. I hope that none of you go through this, because it's hard. I went through borderline, I won't say depression, but there was moments in my life where I didn't want to wake up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now let's move to Yerevan.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming, and other journalists, thank you for inviting me. Sorry for all the trouble I made to come here. So I don't have any specific message to convey today. I wasn't focused on that, so let me just share my story and then continue on Q&A to ask any question, to focus on any aspect that you will find interesting. Make sense? So I'm Yerevan. By background, I'm a cryptographer, mathematician, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I started my first company in 2014 or 15. It was called Skype Crypter, and started it just from a research laboratory. We have been doing cryptography scientific research in American University of Armenia, and have been trying to sell scientific products, mathematical algorithms to Samsung. The only motivation of working that was kind of bringing Samsung to Armenia, like doing such kind of research that Samsung will find it an innovative place to open a branch in Armenia. And we got to a point that Samsung sent a solid delegation to investigate the Armenian market and to see if they will open a branch or not. The eventual conclusion was they will not open, and at that moment I just stopped collaboration with Samsung. It was not interesting anymore, and focused on implementing own product, which was again related to data privacy, cryptography, all the stuff I was doing in Samsung. It was called Skype Crypter. Was probably one of the first companies in Armenia, right? First startups, along with Armenian startups, so we know each other 10 years already there. We've been in the first page of getting venture investment from first Armenian VC. So started in 2014-15 and quit it in 2020 during the COVID. So I make it almost 5 years without any major success actually. We have raised overall 300K or something like that, which is a silver amount of money, especially now. And but it was the most important, probably very major personal success for me, because after 2018, as Skycryptor was struggling, I needed to make some side money. It was the worst financial years for me, like even personally and family. I joined to a blockchain company called Zcoin as a cryptography advisor, just to make side money without quitting Skycryptor. The Skycryptor story, I will leave you ask any question you want, because it's a 5-year story with lots of up and downs, pivots, and I'm happy to share any detail, but just will not go personally, and we just align that story with your questions, okay? But feel free to ask any question. Regarding to the Zcoin, which has been rebranded to Fero now, so I joined as a cryptography advisor. It was a very interesting, innovative blockchain company which was stagnating. He was losing his competitive edge in 2019. And me and my small team in Armenia, we came to a scientific new algorithm innovation which became the core of Zcoin. It led him to rebranding. It became Fero. It became one of the most innovative companies in his niche market. I became a late co-founder of the company. So eventually it was a very good success, great success. It became a cryptocurrency with 100 million market capitalization, and we are again struggling now, but at its highest it was a coin of $100 million market cap. Still it was a success, and huge success, I think. Now I am investing in startups. So looking back at my Skycryptor story, like very interesting transformation after from nowhere to high success, and like how everything can change and how the learned lessons actually can capitalize in different way in other directions. So that's the short story of my scientific and entrepreneur journey actually. It's a story of 6 years, just in 2 minutes. I think I will stop here and open to any question you want to ask. We can dive into any aspect, how to stay resilient, how to not quit, or when to quit, when I decided to quit or close Skycryptor, how to make this scientific innovation into product, how to make it into business, how to sell scientific product or product in general, how I'm investing in companies. Any question, feel free to ask
I
question.
think you are asking great questions.
Because I see your face like stuck somewhere, I'm thinking maybe I was too short or I was too boring.
What made you decide to quit Skycryptor?
Okay, good question. After 5 years, right? So,
And did you have moments in that 5 years that you wanted to quit?
all the time. All the time. And, yeah. But when I decided to quit, this is a good question and has a very conscious answer that I came to that conclusion. So we started from first idea, okay, which was bullshit, like technological innovation, like very interesting technology, but my first experience to build some product, and it was the worst product that someone could build. Like we have raised 100K at the idea stage in 2015. It was a huge money in 2015 because there have been only 10 or 12 startups overall in Armenia, like not startups but entrepreneurs. And Granatos Ventures invested in idea stage. We didn't even have a product. 100K. I never seen such amount of money, honestly. But we spent 70K or 70,000, 70 or 80% of the overall money to build a very hard technological product, like investing in very hard technology, which never left the shelves. Like we have been building something that Kaspersky we met, of course, lots of security companies, entrepreneurs. So Kaspersky once said, hey, you are building this, how many people are you? I was saying 3. And we couldn't find the product engineers. We found the most important engineer in Poland. There was no one in Armenia who could write driver-based cryptography or something like that. And Kaspersky thought we are building this with a team of 10 or even more than 5 years, so you will never get to the point. That was actually obvious eventually. It was lack of my experience that I didn't notice that. And we spent 70% of the overall funding to build something which is thrown away. And that was, of course, it was not the moment to quit. It had been months to quit. I remember the most interesting part. I remember it long few months, 6 months or 7 months. Every morning I woke up with pain in my legs. I still remember it. Because of anxiety, because of nervousness, because of feeling that you are going nowhere. But that moment when we just had 20K or something, after one travel to US, I thought that, hey, we are working to solve this solution. Actually, there is a very simple technology. We are working to solve this problem. Do you want me to share the problem or the product that we have been building? So that will help also me to discuss what was the transition about. Skycryptor was a cloud encryption software. In Samsung, while working with Samsung, we noticed that they don't allow us to share sensitive documents with them through mail, because that's IP, like intellectual property of Samsung. They didn't want us to share simply through Gmail, which would mean simply giving it as a gift to Google. And Samsung paid for that alone, right? And the same way they didn't allow us to put these documents in Dropbox or Google Drive, or any cloud file sharing system, because any file you put in cloud, you give it to the cloud provider. Make sense? So the idea was building a document encryption software which will encrypt your files before they are leaving your computer, getting to the cloud. And only the dedicated recipients, people with whom you want to share your files, will get the cryptographic access to it. This was the problem we wanted to focus on. The solution we came to was a driver-based solution, which will automatically detect your Dropbox or Google Drive folders or your laptop automatically. This is the key point. Any file you just drag and drop to Dropbox folder will be automatically encrypted at driver level before getting uploaded to cloud. So it was the most kind of perfect user experience we could imagine, and the most technologically challenging implementation. How to make it seamless and automatic. Like imagine you put a file in some folder, you didn't even notice, but it gets encrypted, it gets modified. In your own computer you see, let's say, secure document.pdf, but when you open your Google Drive or Dropbox cloud service, you will see secure document.pdf.save or .encrypted. But on your computer you can double click on the file, which is actually an encrypted file, but it will be opened with PDF or Word. You make your edits, it will be saved, encrypted back to the file. So it was, we wanted to get to the perfect user experience. I think this is a key point as well. We wanted to perfect the user experience, but we couldn't imagine how tough that will be. And spend like 80K or 70K, I don't remember, it doesn't matter, but a significant amount of all our funding on building this technology, writing the source code, without even selling anything, without even knowing if someone will buy this product. And the transformation part was that I understood already that we never will get to the point, our money will exhaust all funding, and we will not ship the first version of the project. The team, I started with a great team, great engineers of 7 or 8, and after 8 months we have been only me, my co-founder, one engineer. we came to another simple solution for the same problem. Our problem was basically making sure that sensitive documents will not get to the cloud provider. So that was the actual problem. We said, okay, let's kind of make it not perfect user experience, not make it seamless. Like, let's ask the user to do one action. If you want to secure your document, just right-click on the file and make it secure with our feature. But we changed the whole concept. Our initial pitch was securing clouds or secure Dropbox or secure Google Drive, whatever it is. Our next pitch was security traveling with your data, no matter where they are stored or how they are shared. So you just right-click, encrypt your file, which means putting it in the secure envelope, right? And you control how this envelope will be shared or how it will be accessed. The simple, okay, it's easy to say simple. It took me 80K, it took me months of anxiety and hundreds of conversations with lots of security experts, mentors. I had all kind of advice, great advice, and lots of bullshit, of course, but it was a simple transformation to change the pitch, to change the technology, making it very easy to build. And we shipped this product with already 10K or 50K because we have been ready, and it was easy already to provide the solution to teams who wanted to try. And this took us to, so this was the first pivot actually, product pivot. The problem space remained the same, but the product was totally different product. 2016, and in 2016 I met one of my great friends and mentors and became investors. And this is the best part of entrepreneurial journey actually, which never should be neglected. You are meeting lots of people, among them you are meeting great people who became kind of lifetime friends or lifetime mentors, or will not remain lifetime but will make a lifetime impact on you. This is one of the probably beautiful things of entrepreneurial journey. So 2016 I met a guy, again with another remark. We made this product but let out of money. I shipped the product but I already didn't have the energy or motivation or resilience, spirit, okay, spirit to go, to stay bold and raise money again, to be so confident on what we are building, so I will be able to convince others to invest in. I didn't have the spirit, and that was, I think, the first startup summit in 2016. That we have been invited to a pitch. Jeffrey Ma founder us when Mio Chegar when I pitching next right? But we went to pitch and we won the startup summit, first startup summit. And this is where I met another guy who kind of didn't allow me to quit the time by investing money and also supporting businessmen. And it was 2016, okay, let me make the next year a bit short. In 2017, we have got accepted to Techstars. I think we have been the first company from Yerevan, right, who got accepted to Techstars. After applying 4 times, actually. It was our 4th trial to get accepted, and that played a role as well. When I asked back there, who was our program manager, why we have got accepted, one of the key factors was that they have been tracking us from one application to another.
Persistence, where's that?
Persistence is also, okay, you can persist but not show any progress. So persistence is not enough, it's important. It's very important to not only be persistent but to show progress. I think 2 factors. There was some progress, at least in thinking mindset, at least probably because they saw the evolution of the pitch, evolution of our business probably proposition, or I don't know, wording. 2017, Techstars, it has been in France, was another great experience. That's where I have learned how I did my first enterprise deal. I sell the product without even having it fully ready. And this is the story, like the product pricing model will be something similar to Dropbox, right? You are selling the product, you charge monthly fee per employee using it. So we did a POC with one of the biggest French companies. The contract was they will test the product with 10 people or 20 people in some department for 2 months, and the sum of the contract was 10,000 euros. And the pricing will be charging $10 per user per month. This was important kind of small experience, but this you become from kind of technology to just building products, you become a businessman who sells stuff. In France, I have again one of the very impactful, important period of my life. I made the first deals with already world-class kind of business mentors. It's a funny story, but Guillaume Sarkozy, Nicolas Sarkozy's own brother, became an investor advisor for Skycrypter. He drove me to big French enterprises to sell our product. The first product actually, because we already shifted from file security to pitch anything related to blockchain. Because in 2019, blockchain already became a mainstream. In 2017, sorry, the first spike of Bitcoin, when the first time became 20K, it was end of 2017. So end of 2018, 2019, we have been pitching ourselves as a team of cryptography experts who have built this type of innovative products and can build lots of other products, anything we want basically. This was and I took Skycrypter to 2 exit conversations. First company that we talked was Ernst & Young from France, who was building his own blockchain team, and we made quite a progress in working on the contract. Second company that I got acquainted with one of my advisors from France, with whom I'm still doing business. He's from UK, and we are still doing business. There was an Austrian company, the only company actually, which which appreciated actually the technological innovation of initial Skycrypters, because it has been based on quite unique cryptographic approach and algorithms, not invented by us, invented in MIT, but we have been the first company trying to build this technology to industry, or seeing how products can be changed if you will never use this technology instead of the standard technologies. It was the first company who really saw the value of this, and we discussed the concrete contract with concrete numbers. I think the initial deal was something 2 million or whatever to sell the company, and at that time I was the only person in the company actually. Why only person? Because I had some team. No one was full-time in Skycrypter. Skycrypter has run out of money. I keep a team working on this Firo, as I mentioned. I became an advisor, right? And I sell all this team to Skycrypter team if they will be an exit. So, okay, it took a few months, there is a conversation, they have been evaluating everything, and actually came to understanding that, okay, there is probably, let's say, $1 million baby, have you seen the deal? There is no solid cryptography team. The salaries of Armenian engineers are higher even than in Austria. The company was, Cryptas was an Austrian company. So lots of factors that pushed the valuation down. And I remember the sentence that if there will be anything less than 1 million, and you will ask me to log for 4 years in this company, I will prefer uncertainty for the next 4 years compared to this 1 million. Because in 2019 and 2023, I have zero regret making the decision. This is the long story short. And regarding to Firo, so Firo is a privacy cryptocurrency. It enables private financial transactions on blockchain, unlike Bitcoin where everything is transparent. You can go to Bitcoin and track all transaction graphs starting from 2009 when it has been launched. You can track Satoshi Nakamoto wallets, the founder's wallets, how much money it has in his wallets at this moment. And Firo is a privacy coin, which are totally private financial transactions. No one will be able to see who are you, whom you are transacting with, or how much amount you are sending. But all network participants will be able to check that any transaction happening on the blockchain is valid, is legit. You are not spending twice, only $100 but trying to transfer $200. But this is based on cryptography innovation, cryptography technology, scientific discipline, which got a Nobel Prize after being discovered, the concept, which is called zero-knowledge cryptography. It's about technology where you can prove mathematically any statement without revealing any detail about the statement. Just proving that you know the fact that the fact is true without giving any detail about the statement. This concept has been invented maybe 20 years ago. The three inventors got a Turing Prize, Turing Prize. And this technology, after 20 years, became a mainstream and enabler for all this, lots of blockchain innovation and blockchain scheming. And Firo's innovation that I mentioned, that we invented the scientific stuff, which became the part of Firo, right? They get again more competitive, is this type of zero-knowledge protocol to solve this financial privacy problem. And we have been not the biggest company in this in our niche, not the biggest privacy coin, but even the biggest privacy coin kind of steal our technology and is building on it. Another Israeli company, Israel is the homeland of cryptography. Like all major cryptographers are from Israel. Security startups, all of the SkyCrypto competitors have been from Israel. But another Israeli company raised $6 million in Israel to build a privacy coin based on our algorithm. Now I'm kind of not quitting, exiting Firo, or at least making my commitment in the US. After the war especially, I kind of realized my entrepreneurial struggle and focused more on some other stuff. Like I'm advising now a few companies, investing in startups, and doing some social stuff, which is called GitOsh, which is my startup has been emerged from scientific lab. And the second success is again based on scientific lab. So, and I went into cryptography for doing science because I came to a problem which I never heard about the word cryptography, but the problem I was thinking in 2012 or 11, I figured out it's a scientific problem. Most major cryptographers are working on this because I never had the scientific ambitions and I still don't have any scientific ambitions. All scientific innovations have been motivated by Redki Hamar, Redki Kuterane, or Samsung Karayasta, Redki North Technology Sakim, or Zikoine Challenge, Chkorsne, Ramosh, Hoskov, Chpagre.
Thank you, Jan, for sharing your experience. And one question. There is an opinion that if you want to succeed in your product development or in your business, you should think out of box. But I think that our community still don't know how to work in the box. And for your experience, how we should learn and study work in the box. Then after that, think out of box, because ambitious ideas and ambitious needs don't let us go down and think about real issues that we have in the scientific world, innovation, and so on.
And even in real time, I think I understand your questions. There are so many problems on the ground which actually don't need kind of the out of box. No, they don't think that big vision or they just need to roll up your sleeves and do hard work, but do it in a precise and effective way. In this way you will solve lots of problems, but even in that process you may need to think out of box because you want to do you will work on old concepts, but always you can work in a new way. So I'm not sure I really understand the meaning of your question, but again, thinking out of box or in the box, it depends on the context.
Yeah, I see.
But being a single large picture, I think this is essential, even if you are working on a concept like existing 100 years. Because the best businesses, I think, should be based on concept existing for many years. The only innovation will be seeing not a new concept, but new environment when the concept should be adapted. This is how new businesses are emerging over time and succeeding, because you are solving an existing big problem, existing over 100 years. You just adapt it to the new environment. And the environment will be changed, can be changed in hundreds of different forms.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for interesting experience sharing. I want to know how you can raise money in 2015 from Armenia VC.
In what? In 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
In Armenia VC, with startup, which software not unclear problems. Házkányi startup, which we call the Momentum, which is Házkányi show, Házkányi raise the
I think you should ask the question to Mohammed. The investor is invested, not me. But that's the fact. Maybe we have been in idea stage. We have some demo created in a few weeks. Performance just to show what the product we are talking about. Not something working videos. And you can right click, you can see some change with your files, you see files appearing in Dropbox with modified extensions. I think we talked, at least we knew what we are talking on the technological side. And we talked about the business problem. I think this is a very important thing. In 2015, we talked about the business problem. When I talked to Manu, Granados Ventures, the idea was, hey, don't you think that your documents are sensitive enough just to not give them to Dropbox for free? Or many companies will have compliance or regulation which will not allow them to share files. For example, Yerevan companies should not share files with US companies such as Dropbox. And kind of the business need, we smelled the business need, and this was the trap actually. We smelled it, we didn't touch it. And we also saw many companies, as I mentioned, few Israeli companies who have raised millions of dollars from best VCs, Artists and Horowitz, to build some of the same product with less interesting technology. And we said, okay, this is this is the market we want to work on. This is the differentiating part. Everything was based on technological differentiation. That was my mindset. I did it for business. I remember Levon Kruzan, you know probably. Levon is the entrepreneur, founder of Collecting, which is thousands of millions of dollars recently. Levon was a good friend and mentor, and when I told him that our driver-based solution has lots of bugs, you put on a folder of 100 files in Dropbox, he just managed to encrypt only 10 of them. The other 80s are getting to Dropbox in Armenia and put one. That was a disaster for me, like the worst problem in the world that could exist. Then I told Arjan, have you tried actually just to limit your proposition to 10 files? Just sell it. Just ask Google. I will include my first 10, and then 10, and then 10. But I was a scientist engineer. Yeah, I was a manager as well. I had managerial experience, but I didn't have business experience. But it was compelling, and the Granatus was first company looking for, I don't know, interesting startups. Ask this question to mom, and they will share his answer with me. It's a later. Ask it.
I think one of the hardest things when quitting the company.
Which parts really?
Okay. One of the hardest things when deciding to quit the company, besides investors and people who believe in you, invest in your company, is the team that you have. Like talking to them that, okay, it didn't work. In your case, you somehow managed to transfer them to another company, as far as I understand. No?
No.
No.
After the Techstars, I told you, right? We have been 3 actually. Me, my co-founder, and 1 engineer. Which actually was my brother, that's why he was staying with me. My personal brother. We went to Techstars 2017. 2018, a few months after Techstars, where we have been working with this French enterprise on this 10,000 deal. Azad left as well. Just for Dara, the company is now, we have never been in such a good situation. We had some chance, but Arda. What to say about? I started to collect engineers when I started to work with Firo. They have not been stacked.
So, Aram, if somebody in the beginning of when you started in 2015, right? When you were at AUA and in the lab working on this, somebody would have told you, take $80,000 and go and study what the others are doing in the field and learn what your idea, the thoughts that you have, are they doing or why are they not doing what you are thinking to do? Would that have helped the situation, or did you had to go through $80,000 work to learn that the technology that you are trying to do is not workable? So my real question is this, okay? Is the problem with startups the fact that they don't spend enough time trying to understand what others are doing, or why they are not doing what they are doing? Or is it just a matter of that you actually have to spend this time and money to learn?
Yeah, I think you have to spend time and money to learn. Definitely that's not obvious. Definitely you should explore it. Sometimes you should not only explore, but you should build. That's how companies are building new markets, new customers. But the difference in the pace, what is the pace you are going through the process? As an unexperienced entrepreneur, you are going on a very slow pace, making all types of mistakes. As more experienced entrepreneur, you just accelerate the pace. I think there's the only difference, but there are no silver bullets. You should run that tough way, and you should make lots of mistakes, because maybe I mean no.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never
know. I mean,
yeah,
no one can tell. Okay, if you work on something that is innovative, either market size or technology size, there can be lots of great mentors and great advices, but I'm not sure someone can say, do this and this will work.
So as a country, as opposed to as a country, we have to have a large pool of money for people to come and take and learn. If the idea is that we do have to spend the money and time to learn, then as a country, we have to have enough venture capital funds for people to come, take, learn, and build upon. Because that learning that you've learned, you are sharing with us, but you are not sharing with the others, right?
Well, if you look at the VC model, typically out of 10 companies, they know 8 or 9 of them will fail.
Yeah, I agree. But what I'm saying is that if for Armenian startups to be to have a chance, they have to learn. They have to go through this process of 80,000. So as Armenia ecosystem, we have to have enough funds to pay this 80,000 continuously to as many entrepreneurs and tech startup as possible in order for, as a country, to learn and compete globally. Because today we seem to be shooting small couple of times. İmanım aldı.
Manager, I got your point. It's absolutely valid. Yeah, we need to invest more in such kind of education.
But Magda, you mentioned venture capital. It has to start before the venture capital. And Adam knows because of Kidush that there needs to be research and development at the universities, at the research centers to do that learning before you get to the commercialization
but
phase.
Michael, what Aram was saying is right, okay? It's not the technology, it's not the algorithms or what he came up with was the short that his knowledge. His knowledge was on the business side, the short in realizing that the technology that he's building is not business, or you cannot build a business out of it. And you don't learn that from Kidush.
I think there are two different points, but 2 points are actually real points because now more and more startups, I believe, will be relied on more kind of R&D innovation.
In the base of science. In the base of science.
Will be based on science there, or at least will kind of monetize the cutting edge science. More and more startups. That's why Kidush and R&D is as important as teaching how to do business.
I'm coming back to my point. I'm sorry that I'm
one final comment
Okay.
because we're running out of time. Okay. No,
Comment or question?
or someone else.
Arminjan, you had a question, right?
That's fine, no, please have someone else.
Okay, so we usually heard stories about success, but I don't know, I didn't have any stories about failures. And I believe that failure is something like stepping on a rake. It can be painful, but we don't learn about that very much. I'd like you to share with us some failures. You said you had many ups and downs. If it is not a personal thing, that failure didn't touch you, didn't for you personal.
Everything is personal. I can share everything, but I think I have shared already the whole story of failure, not the success. Telling that you are not learning from failure, I think this was the wrongest thing I have had, because I've learned more from skyscraper failure than from fear of success. Fear just make me a rich person or learn new stuff. But I've learned everything to make fear of, or to become in from my fear, from skyscraper experience.
Yes, what is bothering me that there are many obstacles in a way of starting a business or doing something single, like finding money or making your product interesting for others, for some, let's say, big companies. But what is something that, let's say, you may do and say, oh no, I did that wrong? Something that you just, let's say, you make a wrong step or...
Yeah, I did almost everything wrong. Usually, how to approach to product building, how to approach to customer development, how to do sales basically, how to figure out if the real product market fit exists or not. I did everything wrong. Not really everything. The only thing I think I did right, just started to do startup.
I think to that effect, and I see this, I mentor a lot of startups, and often what I realize, they start off wrong. They don't really realize that they're solving a problem or not. And in our particular case, we had amazing technology. We realized over time that we're not solving anything. We got lucky that the industry came about. But I think most of the companies I talk to, they're excited about their product. It's a cool product. It's going to do this, it's going to do that, and this feature is going to do this, and then VCs are going to give us a lot of money. But they forget the main thing. Are you solving a problem that someone will pay money?
It may be fun, but not solve any.
Pardon?
It may be fun, for some time, but nothing new.
That's it. So I think this is what, as entrepreneurs, you have to always have that in mind, and you forget as well. I've done many companies, and the previous company, we just, like Aram, built high innovation, trying to find who will buy it. And sometimes it works. If you're able to raise sufficient amount of money and continue, things will progress in the right direction, but chances are.
Thank you.
I can share one thing, business-related thing about Firo's success, because you may get the perception that it was a scientific innovation just got boomed. That was not the case. How to even find what scientific problem to work, this already comes from business mindset or market, how you understand the market. And this is the story. I mentioned about zero-knowledge cryptography, right? And I mentioned about the product which is building privacy payment system. So there is one company called Monero, which is the biggest privacy coin. It was the first privacy coin, and still remains the biggest because it took all the black market and it has its own market. So the biggest privacy coin in 2016, but it is based on very old, inefficient, not enough secure technology. But it has the biggest market share. Okay? It still is the biggest. In 2016, a new technology, science revolution has emerged by top cryptographers in the world, like Turing Award winner cryptographers. You can track it. The company first implementing this technology is called Zcash, and the algorithm has been invented in MIT by top MIT cryptographers. It's a fantastic technology which became a mainstream, at least in scientific world. Like all scientists have shifted to work or improve this approach, which was very secure compared to Monero's approach, the old school approach. But it has two drawbacks, basically, two very important drawbacks, which are more like Zcash can provide fantastic security, but it relies on a simple assumption that you should start from a process called trusted setup. If you want a secure system, you should have a trusted ceremony, like an masonry ceremony, trusted ceremony which is done to initiate the first key to start a system. And this has been considered as a major drawback. But apart of this trusted system, Zcash technology is fantastic. It's Mercedes compared to Zhiguli. No, really. And we build, what is between Mercedes and Zhiguli? We build Peugeot. No, not Peugeot.
Honda. Toyota.
We built Toyota Camry, yeah. No, really, we built Toyota Camry, which still was not Mercedes, of course, but it was provided enough security to make, in practice, to make everyone happy. Not in theory, but at least in the practice. And this was not we just came to the scientific problem. We first started which direction to think about. And eventually Monero took our technologies, but not Zcash. This was how we built Zcash. And actually how biggest company is using our technology. The only thing is we didn't make as much money as we could because it was open source scientific.
Okay, let's continue the other discussions. We have coffee and tea here. Thank you very much, Aram and Armin. The first two speakers have started Huddle Yerevan. This will be a monthly event and all of you will be welcome to attend the event. Please follow our social media channels and email. Hopefully 1 month later we will have a normal situation and we'll be able to do like more public promotion for this event and for all other events we have in our country. Thank you so much guys. We wish you peace and a good weekend. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones.